All right, here we are again, back on Everything is Fine, a cooking show. We're gonna make rustic pasta with rigatoni noodles today. So the first thing you want to do is get your pan full of water that you're gonna boil the noodles in. These are store-bought noodles. We're using rigatoni. On the package, I'm sure it says something. Oh God. About how much water you need to put in. I just fill up this pot. I use the same pot pretty much every time I make noodles. You fill it with water, and you add salt, like a lot of salt. It should taste like seawater. I don't know. This is salt. This isn't. I don't know how much that is. This is about what I'm doing. However much that is, if you can even see this. Next, we're gonna turn on our trusty hot plate. Just gonna max it out this time. Still haven't quite nailed down how to use this thing. And a couple turns of oil. Starting very similar to the last episode. I don't know how much that is. It's not really important. But I like to start out with a little base of bacon, because bacon makes everything better. This is particularly thick cut bacon, which is fine. You can use pancetta. You can use whatever. I was at the store and I was like, that bacon is massively thick. I'm going to use it in this sauce. I'm not going to go crazy like making even, Steven, square, cubes, or whatever. This is going to cook down, and it's going to kind of melt. And our pan's not hot enough, but I'm going to put it in anyway. Next, in the sauce, we're going to put some onions in there. And again, this is like real basic flavor. We're not going for anything crazy. I usually make this like we have some leftovers, or we're just in the mood for something fast and I have a bunch of tomatoes. I'm using, oh boy. I'm using these little like on the vine cherry tomato guys. Get a shot of that. No? Oh, focus. Which we'll get to in a second. But you know, start with the basics, onions, garlic. I'm gonna throw a shallot in there. If you want to use carrots and celery and like a traditional like mirepoix mix, then go for it. Oh, pan's heating up. That's a good one. We need the pan to be hot. I'm gonna cut my fingers off. Not intentionally, but this cutting board is super slippery because I didn't really wipe all the bacon fat off of it. It's a good start. Again, rustic, right? Rustic is like big chunks of stuff, rough cuts, pieces of onion skin on the cutting board where you don't want them. I don't even want to use this piece. I'll throw it in there, why not? But we're not gonna dice. You can dice if you want to, but I'm not gonna dice. You just make nice, even cuts. Oh my God, cutting my fingers off. And we're just gonna toss them in whole. The goal here, like I said, is not to have like a big pot of like bubbling sauce. It's like thick. You need a thick noodle like a rigatoni or like maybe like a penne or maybe like a fusilli to really handle like the weight of it. It's not going to be loose, I guess is what I'm getting after. It does smell good. Use some garlic. I like garlic. I always use a lot. I'm Italian. Our people love garlic and being too handsy. So two things go together. Oh, shit. Well, yeah, you can use this one. I haven't opened it yet. You give it a squish. Peel it.
Why do you squish the garlic? I always wonder why they smash it.
You want to smash? Okay. The reason you do that is because this is super hard to break through. If you don't kind of give yourself an opening, you're not going to be able to peel the garlic. So you squish the garlic, it opens up the skin, makes it easier to peel. It's still a pain. Look at it. It's floating around. If you squish it now, don't you dare.
I'm trying to cover the lights. The lights are reflecting on here.
This is welcome to the show. This guy with the red. I'm not going to ignore it. Don't reach into the pan, dude.
I'm trying to cover up the lights.
It doesn't matter with the light. If you stick your nose like real close to the screen, you won't be able to smell it. So then we'll just do the same thing. We'll give this kind of a rough chop. I don't care about the little imperfections and the nubs. I watched this documentary once about these guys in prison that had to peel garlic. They lost their fingernails. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's from peeling, like so much peeling that yeah, it was gross. Anyway, that's what you want to think about when you're doing this. And throw that in. It's chunky. The best is when you get like a bite of this later, and it's like just a full head of garlic, and you're like, wow, that was a lot. It's good. It's good for you. It's character building. So all we have right now is garlic, bacon, and onion, and it's chunky. And you can see this this stuff right here. That's actually good. You want to see some of that because in a second here we're going to deglaze this pan with wine, and all that chunky stuff is going to come. Oh God. Oh yeah, can you hand me that? No, the open one.
This one?
The onions are getting to me. Thank you. This is just red table wine. Use red wine for this. Oh my God.
Don't rub your eyes.
Oh. All right. Brief intermission. I'll turn the hat around. Continuity's sake. All right. Yeah. So anyway, this is red table wine. It's kind of sweet. The sweetness is good because it helps like build a little bit of body in the sauce. This thing is cranking. The other thing we want to do first is put some tomato paste in there. This is a freshie. Just a squirt. I don't know how much. Just give it some. Squirt. And then we're kind of, again, we're building like a really simple flavor profile. And it doesn't have all your typical, this isn't grandma's marinara sauce. This is like grandma's hungover and doesn't really feel like cooking dinner on Sunday. So this is what you get. At this point, I want to let this kind of amalgamate together. Is that a good word? So I'm going to put the lid on it and just let it do its thing for a while. The next thing that's going to go in this pot is going to be basil, which we have here, a bundle of basil, and the tomatoes. So, ideally you pull the tomatoes off this like vine that they're on, but you can do whatever. You just throw it in. Extra flavor. Sometimes you have to pick tomatoes. I was gonna put a shallot in here, but I forgot. That's fine. Can we talk about lemons for a second?
Negative.
Lemons.
It's you and the consumer.
I keep waiting for you to answer me, and you never say anything. God, see, I can't even. Coughing. Lemons are important to Italian food. How do I know this? I don't. I'm Italian, so if I say it, that means it's true. But this right here is going to set your sauce apart from everybody else's. And I'll show you that later. That's all I really want to say about lemons. Also, this one's good because it's kind of squishy. If you get a lemon from the store and you're like, wow, look at how it looks like someone painted that, like one of those like paint by numbers books. And it feels like, it's like a rock. Don't get it. Just get the uglier one. Like this one's kind of ugly, but it's squishy. That means it's juicy inside. Kind of like me. I'm not there yet. This is great.
It's the perfect reaction shot. A new mug. Oh God.
Ooh. They say you should never cook with wine you wouldn't drink, so I mean. Should let it breathe for a little while. All right. Are we there? At this stage, let's add a little bit of salt. I really don't like this salt thing because it just swings around everywhere. I don't know how much salt that was, but you know, use your best judgment. Everybody has their own salt preference. You know what's the worst is when you're hanging out with people and you're like, hey, you want to come over to my house for dinner? And they're like, oh yeah, that's great. And then they show up and you make this beautiful dinner and then they just pour salt on top of it. And it's like, well, if I didn't want to taste anything, I wouldn't have cooked anything. Bring your own salt next time. Doesn't really matter. See, this is what we're looking for. But now we're going to add some of this. Oh, sizzle, sizzle. Just add a good, I don't know, whatever.
Summer?
Yeah, some up. A cup. Let's call it a cup. Let's call it a half a cup. That's more realistic. And then all that grease, you're like, oh God, how's he ever going to get that pan clean? It's magic. It just comes right off. You don't really even have to do this. It'll just do it itself while it's cooking. But now, we're going to let this cook for a few minutes. The pasta's still boiling away. Okay. Again, lid back on. This is like the most uninteresting show. There's really not much to do.
Cooking Italian food is easy though.
Yeah. What can we do? We can also, I guess we can do this. I'm going to take all this basil. Is that a handful? Sure. I'm going to pull these big stems off of it. And we're just going to give this a real rough chop. Again, it doesn't have to be pretty. Nothing ever is in here. Try not to cut your fingers off. Or if you do, don't film it. Ta-da. We're getting ready. We're going to do tomatoes, basil, and we're just going to let it sit for a while. I don't know. Is it ready yet? It's ready. I think it's ready. Go ahead and throw it in. So again, tomatoes. We're not going to do anything. We're going to splatter hot wine juice everywhere. Some basil. Oh, you know, spiced up a little bit more. At least added a lot to this. The wine is super sweet, so I don't think I would say add any sugar, but if you have something that's not a sweet wine, now would be a good time to maybe add just a little bit of sugar. I'm going to get some, what do I want? I want some of this and some of this. No, I want this. All right, we're going to get weird. I'm going to add a little bit of red chili flake, just for some tang. I've been told I add too much, but you're not actually going to eat this food, so it doesn't really matter. Then we're going to add some oregano, maybe a teaspoon or so. Just a little hint. You know, this is kind of an herb-forward sauce, so we don't want to go over the top. I'm throwing a bay leaf, just because that's what you do. It's like half of one. I don't know. Here's the weird one. Cinnamon. For now, we're going to put the lid back on here. We're not going to stir it or do anything weird as I bang this around. Then I'm going to turn this down to whatever this dial says. Doesn't make any sense. And then cut. I'll do an apron. This thing's super dirty. So I've been making a lot of pasta. You can see all my remnants of flour and...
You look like Super Mario right now. Can you
Cool.
put your red hat on, please?
So racist.
All right, let's check on the... Oh, God. Let's check on the pasta.
You okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Everything's fine. This is hot, so you're aware. Ooh. This is getting to where we want it, I think. Things are feeling soft. It's kind of what we're going for. I'm going to just squish these tomatoes for a while. The thing with these sauces that I really should have thought about beforehand is it takes a long time to like let flavors build. Right? Like right now this tastes completely different than it would an hour from now. So take your time. If you're following along at home in your kitchen with a screen in front of you, just like this, but there's a screen right there, and you're doing what I'm doing, just take your time. This would take like an hour at least, 2 hours. 2 hours would probably be good. super low. I'm gonna turn this down to like medium low. It says a dial on it. It says 1 through 5, and then it just says max. And max is like super hot, and then if you go to 5, it's like it might not be on. I'm not sure really.
Well, you did kind of break.
$14. You could also have one yourself. I think it was actually 12. Maybe it was 13. Let's split the difference. Water's boiling away.
You turn the water down.
This is starting to look like sauce. It's super steamy in here. Look at this. Is the sauce still cooking? As soon as everything becomes like squishy, I keep saying squishy. Squishy is not a good cooking show word. Oh, how's the food here? It's squishy. It's Anyway, the onions and the garlic that we put in here are becoming very soft. And that's kind of where we want to be.
Oh God! Hold on a second.
Did you just bump the camera? Sick, dude. Dude, the amount of professionalism on this show is next to none. All right, it's time. I'm gonna put the noodles in, and then at 10 after 4, they'll be done. This is gonna just splash boiling water everywhere. Oh, I only got a little bit on me. That's fine. So we're cooking rigatoni for this. I like rigatoni because it's got ridges on it. So it holds on to the sauce a little bit more. That's actually what the ridges are for. And you need something hearty to hold up to like a thick, chunky sauce like this. I'm happy with how this looks.
Pretty good. Smells good.
It's probably gonna be pretty tasty. So let's say we've been cooking this for, I don't know, 4 hours. That's what it feels like. At this stage, it's still pretty juicy here. Let's just uncover it like I just did, and we're gonna let it sort of reduce a little bit as it simmers away. As it tightens up, I always hit the pan when I'm trying to talk. Does that help? As the sauce tightens up and all this sort of like exit, we don't want it to like taste like too much like the wine. That's just like a little bit of a base note. As it tightens up, you're gonna be like, oh my God, it's too thick. What are we gonna do? Well, when we're done cooking the pasta, we're gonna put the pasta directly into the pan, and we're gonna take a little bit of this starchy, salty pasta water and put it in. It's gonna loosen the sauce up again. And ideally, it'll taste good. No guarantees. At home, if you make this at home, I guarantee you it'll taste good. Here, can't make that guarantee. All right. The other thing I want to do right now is zest this lemon that we've been talking about repeatedly for a while. And I'm going to use some of the lemon juice too. I will tell you right now that if you try to juice this lemon first and then zest it, you're going to have a hell of a time doing that. It's not going to work out at all. The other thing is if you have one of these, don't zest yourself into the pasta. I've done that myself many times. It's not fun. Then you're like, oh no, the food is clean, I promise. And then there's like, is that knuckle? Tasty. Little zest goes a long way. Again, that's why we washed it. The other thing we're gonna do is just squeeze it in. There's like more seeds than I've ever seen in any lemon in here. I'm just gonna put them right in the pasta. So these noodles came out of a bag that I threw in my trash can. I had to dig it out. And it says to cook them for 13 minutes. I'm going to cook them for 12, which actually means that they're almost done. And then we're going to put them in here to simmer a little bit more with the sauce. So if you were to, like, let's say, cook them until they're super soft, which is weird. Why are you doing that to your noodles? And you put them in here and you keep cooking them, this is going to be mush. It's hot. This is real hot. Remember we were talking earlier about beard hair in your food? This is how you do it. Dope. All right. Oh, the noodles are done. Shit. Yeah. So we were messing around on the show and overcooked the noodles. Guy on the show. Now that you found your spoon, why don't you have a strainer or like a colander? And I say to you, I do. It's in that cupboard behind me, and I'm just not using it. It's not as cinematic. That's what this show is. It's cinema. What we're trying to do here is achieve truth. You're probably noticing also that I'm just willy-nilly getting water in the pot. As I mentioned before, that's what we want to do. Let's get some of this starchy water in here and let it loosen up the sauce and never quite reduce the way we wanted it to. Is this good content? All right. We're going to add a significant amount of this water now. Just 1 scoop. 1 little scoop. Let's just give this a little stir. Stirsies. There's a lot of noodles in here. Maybe more noodles than we anticipated. At this point, I'm also going to add that secret ingredient that I dropped on the floor earlier that you guys haven't seen yet. Can you guess what it is? It's butter. It's not that much of it. Let's call it a tablespoon. I would add more, but this is what I have right now with me. So I'm just going to let it do its thing. The other thing you could do, you could put in like a splash of heavy cream or something if you had it. But we do have heavy cream. Well, let's pretend like we don't. We're just going to leave it like this. Let that butter melt, let everything get kind of joined together. So we're just going to kind of see how much we can get in there before we really hurt ourselves. Am I blocking the quality content here? Oh, it all fit. Look at it. Anyone out there that was like, that bowl is not big enough, you know what you're talking about. That's fine. Steam's making me tear up. It's beautiful. I'm just going to kind of do one of these. Let's get in the bowl, right? This one we'll try. Nothing like a little noodle with some sauce on it. All right? We've all been there. All you want is some sauce. Should clean this up. First, I'm going to put some cheese on it. Get your good cheese, get your knuckle shredder. Just go to town. Oh, you hear that? It's not my fingers. That's just good quality cheese. That's all that is. You know what's great about when you're like, oh, this is rustic pasta? It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't even really have to taste good, but it will probably. Take your parsley. This is a lot. And then just give it a nice little rough. You don't even need to chop it. Just get in there with your hands and just throw it on the top. Don't worry about the leftovers. So you're going to see this in a second. It's not going to look like this. It's going to look much prettier because we shoot that later. All right. Now we can cut. Stuff, man.